Thank you, moderator. Well, I don't know about you, but I never thought I would be here today delivering the report of the National Youth Assembly for 2019. Not only did I never think I would be an NYA moderator, but when the COVID-19 crisis hit, it looked as if our report would never see the light of day. So I'm extremely grateful and honoured to be here delivering this report. We start our NYA journey in Arbroath. About 25 of us meet there in January to plan our journey ahead. It was hard work trying to discern the way forward and which 3 topics to choose from the big long list sent to us from the church, churches, councils and committees. We wanted to do everything, but knew we couldn't, otherwise we'd have been planning a month-long event. Throughout the weekend, we had to trust that God would help lead us to the right decisions. By the end of that weekend, we had decided that our 3 main topics for discussion would be hate speech, missional buildings, and testimony and confirmation. We had also worked out the schedule of when the topics would be discussed, the speakers for these topics, and what workshops would be beneficial. We left Arbroath excited about what was to come, but with lots of work to do. Fast forward several months to August, and we get to the main event, the NYA 29 weekend itself, which was held at Gartmore House. As delegates arrived, many attending for the first time, I felt overwhelmed with love. It was like my extended family getting together for a Christmas party. Those who know me will know I love Christmas, so this weekend was extra special to me by the thoughtfulness of those who went the extra mile by organising my room to be decorated with a Christmas tree and arranging a Christmas jumper day for the Sunday morning service. Ruth and Colin Sinclair even joined in some of the Christmas madness when they took part in the Moderator's Challenge on our opening night, where we ended up getting antlers attached to our head. There are many things that are special about coming together as a group of young adults from across the Church of Scotland for NYA, not least the times we gather together in worship. We have been blessed over the years to have an amazing worship team who create spaces that look quite different from what we are used to in our own congregation. We enjoy a wide variety of styles of worship, making use of different spaces within Gartmore House, and our candlelit communion service, squashed into a wee boardroom, was a particular highlight of my year. When we are at NYA, we always make our way down the road on the Sunday morning to share with the congregations of Gartmore and Bucclivie. We have formed a great relationship with them over the last few years, and it was great to worship with them again. Our heartfelt thanks go to the congregation and a big shout out to their minister, Reverend Scott Brown, for all the love they have shown us, the hospitality and welcome they offered us, and the encouragement they always gave. This year, we were delighted to be joined for the weekend by Peter and Heidi Gardner, who brought with them their peace loom and listened as we shared our stories while weaving the loom. Set aside from the other things going on that weekend, it allowed us a chance to experience some quiet amidst a busy weekend. The availability of Peter and Heidi to just listen was sometimes just what people needed after a long, hard, or even a great day. There was just something about being in the room that just made you feel different in a good way. There are many other aspects that go to make up the weekend: workshops, free time, and the cosy cafe where we eat home bacon, drink lots and probably lots of hot chocolate, and just have a chat about NYA or life in general. There is also a ceilidh where we can let our hair down after a hard day of debating. We always end the night with a massive strip the willow, and we normally say, if you don't have bruises the next morning, clearly you weren't doing it right. This time I thought it was a good idea to wear my woolly Santa dress. I would not recommend that to anybody in the future. Of course, the main point of NYA weekend is our discussions. We discuss one topic a day and begin with an invited guest to give us a brief overview about the topic. After hearing from the speaker, we go into small groups and discuss our initial things using some discussion pointers. We then all gather back together in the hall where we share our thoughts and discuss them more in depth, trying to see what we can do as NYA to help and what we can be encouraging the wider church to do. The first topic we discussed was hate speech. Marella and people from the European Outside In project came and spoke to us and gave us an outline of what hate speech was. We looked at the pyramid of hate and how the circle of influence is involved too. We split into workshops looking at hate speech around the themes of race, sexual orientation, gender and religion. Once the small group discussions was over, I was firmly in the moderator's chair and ready for action. It was daunting and standing in front of a whole group, but they were so fantastic and the discussions just quickly kept going. One of the main things talked about was third-party reporting. We discussed congregations becoming third-party reporting places and how we can create safe places for people when they need it. Delegates also spoke about making sure we have a good community presence and are willing to talk about the issue, more especially from a young age, so more people are able to recognise hate speech and know what to do when they witness or subject to it. Delegates shared openly and honestly, and we all saw how a discussion it was, and what we found that 53% of delegates stated they had personally experienced hate speech at least once, and 64% had witnessed hate speech towards another person at least once. The second discussion was Missional Buildings, where we heard from Peter Gardner about how we could use the church space more creatively, and David Robertson from the General Trustees, who came to talk about their well-equipped spaces and the right place consultation. In small groups, delegates discussed how their churches tackled accessibility and why was it important if churches should be open through the week for drop-ins and the impact visual art could have on our faith. In the field group discussion, we went through the General Trustees survey, which the youth reps later submitted on our behalf. We then went on to discuss in detail how we can make our buildings more accessible and also how our church buildings can best serve our communities, and explored the idea of sharing buildings ecumenically. In particular, we discussed the benefits of visual art and how we could better incorporate it into our worship spaces. The third discussion was on testimony and confirmation. We had Sarah Lee and Ritchie from the Theological Forum come and share the differences between testimony, confirmation and profession of faith. In their small groups, delegates explored these further and considered if there's an ideal age for confirmation. In our full group discussion, there were a lot of opinions and experiences to share. We started by taking a number of votes on questions such as how many delegates always had another church connection and whether people had been baptised. We spoke about the importance of baptism and confirmation and got a range of different responses. Following this, many shared they only became members of their church as they felt it was expected of them, especially if they wanted to become more involved. On the other hand, some felt when they became a member, there was added pressure they hadn't expected. Delegates shared stories of their confirmation services, and it was evident that personalisation was important to them. The NYA doesn't finish when all the delegates have left Gartmore. The work continues throughout the year as delegates return home and share their stories, and through an elected group of youth reps. As in other years, the youth reps work extremely hard in writing our reports and creating social media campaigns and resources for the church. Unfortunately, much of this work has come to a premature end when the COVID-19 crisis hit. So please speak to any youth reps you know and discover more of what they were involved in. My journey as NYA moderator did not end there, and I'd like to share some of my highlights. First one being I attended the Guild gathering, and let me tell you, they know how to party and worship God at the same time. Marion, congratulations on your year, and a massive thanks to the Guild for supporting NYA over the years. We've loved journeying and sharing together. We then had a service of celebration and thanksgiving in October to remember the last 25 years of the Youth Assembly. It was an opportunity for delegates and team to share their experiences and stories of NYA. In true NYA fashion, we also had a dinner and a ceilidh, which was a great laugh. And thank you to Colin Sinclair for hosting. It really was a special night. Along with some of the youth reps, we signed up to do Sleep in the Park to raise money and awareness of homelessness. In true Christmas fashion, we dressed up as a nativity scene, and then Mary and Joseph got on the news that night as well. I was asked by Colin to accompany him and Ruth to Glasgow University to speak to students about church and society and some issues we see as young people. It was great to see the students were getting involved. I then had a once-in-a-lifetime experience when I travelled with the Guild and another NYA youth rep to Zambia. We went to work with the Guild project called Journeying Together. The project works with single mums in Kanyama, and the girls were so welcoming at this project. As soon as we got in, we were dragged up to dance. They taught us some of their songs, and I left with a full braided hair. The project does a lot with the girls, and from learning basic skills to helping them at school. I learned a lot from my time over there, and one of my highlights was being able to lead worship at the Synod office for the United Church of Zambia, which was scary but really exciting at the same time. My final moderator duty was going to visit the Navy in Plymouth. I got a tour from Chaplain Tim Wilkinson, who was based at Davenport. Then we made our way over to Raleigh, where I met another 3 chaplains and had an exciting few days. I got to see the Navy in action and a simulated safety drill, learned how they stock up the boat on the water with supplies, and got to see the submarine school, which was the highlight of the weekend. Unfortunately, due to COVID, the trip was cut short, but I still learned so much about chaplaincy and the huge impact they have. I love the chaplains, how they're there for all the family and not just the ones serving there on base. The cadets loved the chaplains and said if it wasn't for them, some of them wouldn't be where they are today. My thanks go to all the chaplains, and you will be in my prayers. It was both a busy and wonderful year. I can't thank the youth reps, Mike Clark and Susie enough for all they've done for me and NYA. You're amazing human beings. I love each of you, and I'm so proud of all you have achieved this last year. You're all an inspiration to me. To my NYA family, thanks for putting up with my Christmas crazy. It's been such a privilege to be your moderator, and thanks for making it such a great year. To my friends, my church family, to everyone I met on my travels, and to Colin and Ruth, you really have made this an unforgettable year for me, one I will cherish always. And a big massive thank you goes to my dad, my wee bro Finlay, my sister and my mum, who were not only there for me and with encouragement, but were also my proofreaders, typist, secretary, whatever you want to call them. Thank you so much. Couldn't have done this without yous. Hannah, you've been an absolute amazing clerk. Thanks for being there for me through this year, for calming me down when I get stressed at NYA, for putting up with my late night texts, for pulling together such great reports, and for being such a great friend. You deserve a medal for putting up with me, and I'm so thankful that I got to share this year with you, so thank you. Finally, it would be wrong not to mention the ending of NYA in this report. NYA has meant a lot to many people over the years, and it has been difficult for us to understand the decision to bring it to an end. I would like to acknowledge and thank everyone that has been involved in NYA over the last 25 years. You're all so special and have really left such an imprint on people and their faith. A massive thanks to all the past staff, organisers, and to Susie, and to the former moderators and clerks, and to all the youth reps and delegates over the years. Also, thanks to all those of you who have supported the NYA and shaped it over the last 25 years to be what it is today. Although this chapter is closing, we look forward and hope to young people finding new ways to be involved in the decision-making of the church. Please keep faith in young people and continue supporting and encouraging us and enabling us to flourish. Now, in true me fashion, Merry Christmas to all and to all a good night. Moderator, I submit the report of the National Youth Assembly 2019.
Dana, thank you. Your enthusiasm just bubbles over at every turn. It came through in every word that you shared with us in your report. I believe there might be a couple of people would have wanted to speak on this subject, but given there is no deliverance before us and given the time, I'm going to say that I'm sorry that we won't take people to speak at this point. Dana, Let me thank you for all that you did. I know it was a year of some surprises and an abrupt end, as you put it, but life-changing in many ways. I think you said as much, and not least with your trip to the naval base at Portsmouth. You talked about the disappointment around the end of the NYA, and I know you had a very important role in helping people deal with that and to move on. And again, as you've said, the bonds of friendship that you've built, the working relationships with Hannah and others along the way, and the wonderful bond that you built up with Colin and Ruth as you shared the experiences with them, not least the trip to Zambia. But you have been steadfast in your faith, and you have been this year a great champion of young people in the church. Now here's the thing, this is all about what has been. I want to say to you, we now look to what you will do. You and Hannah and the young people that you work with, you are crucial to the life and the future health of this church. So be all you can be within the church. Yesterday, today, and now for tomorrow. Dana, thank you very much. Dana mentioned Marion Mcintyre, who, of course, served the Guild. And if the assembly had taken place in May as planned, then, of course, we would have heard the Guild report. If I don't do so now, then there would be no opportunity for Marion's work to be recognised. She's lifelong service in the church alongside her husband Tom, parishes in Stevenson and Paisley and Shetland. And her time in the Guild, stretching back over 40 years, serving at both local, regional and national levels, and international, being an important part of the trip to Zambia and Malawi in the summer of 2019. Marion, I wish you had been here. I could have addressed you more personally, but I want you to know that your tremendous service offered to the church and beyond through your work in the Guild is hugely appreciated, and we put that on record here today. Marion, thank you very much.